Hi, I'm Dustin Abbott, and those of you that follow my channel know that periodically I will throw in an audio review as a part of my review process, although I primarily do camera-related, photography-related type reviews. I'm a sucker for a good set of headphones, and I actually get invitations to do headphone reviews all the time. Most of the time I say no. Periodically though, when I'm looking at something like Bluetooth headphones, I recognize that this is a rapidly evolving field here where the technology is really jumping ahead. A few years ago, frankly, I found Bluetooth headphones somewhat useless. They just had so many compromises and limitations that came as a part of them that I just didn't find that it was worth the trade-off. Over the last 3 or 4 years, however, that's drastically changed. But one of the things that had been true of every set of Bluetooth headphones I have reviewed up until this point is that all of them did have some kind of connection, physical connection between the two different headphones. And so when I was approached by a company called Treblab and they wanted me to review their X11 headphones, which they tout as being truly wireless, I was intrigued, and so I thought I would take a look at them. Now, just so you know, like most of the audio reviews that I do, Treblab did give me a pair of these headphones to try out and for me to keep, but in case that concerns you, I have been given dozens of sets of headphones, and most of the time, because you can only own so many of them, I'll use them, I'll demo them, I'll review them, and then often I give them away to friends and family, and so I guess that makes me popular with them. So anyway, let's jump in and let's take a look at what are being touted as truly wireless headphones. So of course this year Apple's Airpods have really grabbed all the headlines, but for many people those headphones are really going to be kind of out of their reach. And so here is a affordable option here. And so one of the things I do want to tout, since I just kind of mentioned Apple, is that the packaging is really fantastic. It actually reminded me a lot when I opened the box, not necessarily of the design ethic of Apple, but that same kind of very smart packaging that's a part of that. And so as you can see from these photos, the packaging really is quite impressive. Now in terms of the actual size of these, at first, you know, I kind of looked at them in the pictures and it's somewhat hard to determine the physical size from pictures, but as you can see, they are not, you know, they're not tiny, and they're a little bit more obvious than what Apple's are, but at the same time they're nice and discreet. One of my immediate concerns about headphones without any kind of connection was you really have to have a great fit. And these are really, Treblab touts the X11 as really being fantastic for workout, and a lot of their promotional videos are kind of designed around that. And so they'll show people in a gym, for example. And so they're supposed to be sweat-proof and very secure in your ears for working out. And so as far as making that kind of claim, the actual rating is an IPX4, which according to the scale is they can withstand splashing from all directions. So, I mean, certainly I would accept that as being ready to go for using running even in rain, for example, and if you're feeling really brave, you might even try them in the shower. IPX4 ratings should work for that. But they need to have a nice secure fit if you're going to use them actually for running. And one of my kind of chief complaints about some Bluetooth headphones is that when I go out for a run, I'm a runner, I'm a cyclist, I do a workout all the time, is that sometimes they just don't stay secure. And if you spend half of your run up trying to adjust in your ear and to get it back in to get even sound, it's just not worth it. But I'm happy to report that I experimented with the different tips that were included in these, and there are a few different sets that are included as a part of the process in a couple of different colors, and so I elected to go with the black colored. And one thing I really liked is they actually came with the option of the memory foam tips, which, you know, you pay a little bit more for memory foam type tips, but I found that that is what allowed me to achieve both the tightest fit and also the greatest sound blocking. And so if I have these in and securely in, while they aren't actively noise canceling, they do eliminate most all exterior noises, enough so that I actually was able to use them while mowing the lawn, which has kind of been my torture test for these type of headphones, because typically I find you just can't do that. You'll get out and, you know, you'll be making a few laps, but it's too much encroaching sound. And a lot of times when I'm out mowing the lawn, I'm not listening to music. I'm actually listening to an audiobook or a podcast. And if you don't have really good active noise cancellation, or I shouldn't say active, if you don't have really good either passive or active noise cancellation, it's an exercise in futility. Fortunately, that wasn't the case, and I was able to cut the grass, and I have a really good fit there. With them in, I've been able to successfully do runs of, say a 5 mile, 8K-ish type run. And I don't recall having to reach up and to adjust them one time. And so that's a pretty amazing testament to how secure a fit, at least I was able to get. Now, the reason why, of course, they include a number of different tips is that everybody's ears are created differently. You aren't all blessed with big ears like me. But as a part of that, of course, everybody's physiology is not, it's hard to design a universal fit for everybody's physiology. So I can only report on how it worked for me, and I've had no problem. Once I found the tip that worked, they've stayed in nice and secure, and I've used them for all kinds of activities, running, cycling, a lot of outdoor work. I've been doing construction type work, and so they've stayed in nice and secure in it for that. Now, kind of the interesting thing about having two separate buds, of course, you have to have some ability to connect them. I did, of course, know that they would have to pair to one another in some way. And so they are designed as a left and a right, and they need to pair accordingly. But once you have them paired, of course, you can use them in stereo, and the sound quality is actually pretty great like that, and not as good as the absolute best set of headphones that I own, but for buds, they are actually really good. Nice, clear sound, good balance, solid bass line. All of those things are good. But the interesting thing about it is that you also have the option of pairing each one individually. And so the downside of that is that you're going to end up with two different pairing notifications on your, like for example in my iPhone. And so if you're trying to pair and you've been paired to something else, you may kind of click on one icon for pairing and click the wrong one. Well, if you do that, obviously it's the other one that you need to connect to. But here is the cool thing about this. The limitation to most wireless type earbuds is the limitation of the actual battery life. And so these claim a battery life of up to 6 hours, but if you're actually listening to music all of that time, they say 6 hours, that's kind of a talk time, if you're just actually using it as kind of a hands-free voice device, which of course you can do, you can take calls, you can use it. And on that note, the sound quality is okay. It's not fantastic, but it's good enough that I've had a number of conversations over the last month and nobody had an overt complaint about it. But you can, if you're actually listening to an audio source, it's going to get about 5 hours of battery life. But kind of the cool thing for me is that a lot of times when I'm out doing yard work or I am working, listening to, as I said, an audiobook or a podcast, I'll be listening, and I actually prefer listening with only one ear, and so I can hear external noises in case someone's trying to talk to me, or, so I'm kind of not too zoned out. The cool thing is that if you pair this, what I've done is I had to work a long work day. I paired one, I listened till the battery went dead, and it started to alert me, battery's low, please recharge, which it'll repeat, until it actually goes dead. But once it was dead, all I did was pull out the other one, pair it up, and away I went. And so for that kind of use, if you don't need the stereo, of course, you can actually extend that battery life to 10 hours, technically, because 5 hours in each one. And that's kind of a unique benefit of having them pair separately. The other thing that's really nice for me, considering I do this often anyway, is instead of having a line going down in my shirt or dangling where it can catch on things with the other bud attached, of course I can actually go truly wireless with only one bud in my ear. And so I've just found I really like that aspect of it all. Now, as far as the Bluetooth connectivity, they claim a range of up to 60 feet, which is actually about double what's often claimed. And as far as the signal range, I found it to be quite good. However, I have found what is the fairly typical limitation for Bluetooth buds in my experience is that if you're towards kind of the edge of the range, it really depends upon which direction your head is. And so if your head is turned away from the audio source, which of course I'm often working, so that involves that, if that happens, then a lot of times the sound will cut out until you straighten back up, where your head is reoriented, where there's not so much a line of sight, but there's not the interference of your cranium between you and the audio source. So, you know, the range is good, but there still are the typical Bluetooth limitations. It does claim all of the typical you know, kind of codecs, and it includes things like aptX for, you know, to help you with less lag between video sources and your audio. That being said, unlike some of the best ones that I've used for this regard, I could detect some lag between the movement of lips and the sound reaching my ears, and so these would not be my top choice for those of you that primarily want to watch video. That being said, the lag was small enough that if I wasn't actively looking for it, I didn't really notice it all that much. So I wouldn't call this a deal breaker, but neither would I call it the best in the class. Now, in terms of the charging, obviously both these have to be charged independently because they truly are independent devices. And so both of them have a micro USB port. So what's included in the package is actually a Y split cable that will have two micro USB ends, and so you can charge them simultaneously. However, note that you know, if you're using them independently, they're not going to be at the exact same charge level, and so you just kind of have to watch out for that. And as far as any other limitations, one thing to note that this is somewhat unusual these days in my experience is that you really have very limited controls on them. Now the good news is that both of them have the typical, you know, power on and off, play, pause, receive, call button that's redundant in both of them, which of course is great if you're going to use them independently. So regardless of which one you have in, if you're only using one at a time, you're going to be able to pause your audio device through them. And if you have them both paired, the left is actually typically the dominant connector. However, beyond that single button, there is nothing else. And so you don't have any volume control, you don't have any track forward or track reverse, and so your actual controls are fairly limited. Now, of course, the good news is that, you know, that play pause is really the most often used, and so it hasn't been severely limiting. But note that if you want to turn your volume up or down, you're going to have to do so on your audio device. And so that is what I would consider the main limitation. The main strength, of course, is that these are truly wireless, and the fact of independently pairing them, to me, really adds to their versatility. So for what I do and what I want to use them for, I've actually really enjoyed them, and I have no problem giving the Treblab X11 my recommendation. But at the same time, recognize that if you're going to use them in some of the situations that I've described that would put them at a disadvantage, you might be better served looking elsewhere. The good news beyond all of this is that the price is very, very reasonable. And right now on Amazon.com, and I'll throw a link down below in the description, they are $46.97, which of course makes them a pretty fantastic value. And I noted in reading through user reviews, the few people that have had to utilize customer service have been very pleased by the kind of follow-up that they got, and that Treblab has stood behind their product. And so that's always a reassuring thing to hear. And so if you are interested in taking a look at some of these for yourself, you can take a look at the link in the description. And of course, if you haven't already, you can follow me on social media. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.